A woman who walks alone with no husband is often met with a mix of curiosity, admiration, and sometimes even skepticism. Society tends to define success, fulfillment, and stability through relationships, particularly marriage. And yet, history is filled with extraordinary women who stood alone, who built their own lives, who created meaning and purpose without ever conforming to the structures expected of them. But to do that, to walk alone, requires a set of qualities that are rare, difficult to cultivate, and immensely powerful. It is not a path for the weak, but for those who seek truth over comfort, purpose over validation, and strength over conformity. The first quality of a woman who walks alone is self-sufficiency. This is not just about financial independence, though that is crucial. It is about the ability to navigate life without constantly seeking permission, validation, or approval. A woman who is self-sufficient has learned that her life is not measured by whether or not she is chosen by a man, but by whether she has chosen herself. She understands that dependency, whether emotional, financial, or social, weakens her ability to build a life that is truly her own. This self-sufficiency does not mean rejecting relationships, but rather approaching them from a place of strength rather than need. The second quality is intellectual resilience. A woman who walks alone is not naive. She has questioned the narratives she was given. She has examined the traditions, the expectations, the unwritten rules that were handed to her, and she has dared to ask, is this truly what I want? She has wrestled with doubt, with the fear of making the wrong choice, with the voices that told her she was incomplete unless she followed a preordained path. And through that struggle, she has developed a mind that is sharp, discerning, and unshaken by popular opinion. She is not easily manipulated because she has trained herself to think critically, to assess, to reason beyond emotion. The third quality is emotional stability. Walking alone is not an easy thing to do. It can be isolating. It can be met with judgment. But a strong woman understands that emotions, while real, are not always reliable. She has learned to manage her loneliness, to transform it into solitude rather than suffering. She has developed the ability to comfort herself, to find joy and meaning even when external validation is absent. This doesn't mean she is cold or disconnected. It means she has developed mastery over her own mind and emotions rather than being at their mercy. The fourth quality is courage, because let's be honest, there is pressure to conform. There is pressure to fit into a mold, to be agreeable, to follow the socially acceptable script. It is easier to be what is expected than to be something entirely of your own making. But a woman who walks alone has decided that her life is worth more than comfort. She has chosen to step into the unknown rather than settle for the familiar. And that kind of courage is rare. That kind of courage is what separates those who live life on their own terms from those who live according to the expectations of others. The fifth quality is a sense of purpose. If a woman chooses to walk alone, it cannot be without a sense of direction. A person without purpose, without meaning, without a reason to wake up every morning, will crumble under the weight of solitude. But a woman with purpose is unstoppable. Whether she is dedicated to her career, her craft, her philosophy, or a mission that is bigger than herself, she is not merely existing. She is striving. She understands that fulfillment does not come from mere companionship, but from contribution, from effort, from the pursuit of something worthwhile. And the sixth quality is an unwavering sense of self-worth. Because if a woman walks alone, she will be questioned, she will be challenged. She will be told that she is missing something essential, that she is incomplete, that she is making a mistake. And if she does not truly believe in her own worth, she will start to doubt. But a strong woman knows that her value is not contingent on whether or not she fits into a prescribed role. She knows that her existence is not made meaningful by her attachment to someone else, but by the life she builds for herself. Walking alone is not for everyone. It is not the default. It is not the easy path. But for those who choose it, or for those who find themselves on it by circumstance, it is an opportunity to become something extraordinary. It is a test of will, of mind, of spirit. And those who pass that test do not become less, they become more. A woman who walks alone with no husband is not a woman who is lost. She is a woman who has decided, whether by choice or by circumstance, to navigate the world on her own terms. And that, in itself, is a powerful thing. Because to do so requires strength, discipline, and an understanding of oneself that many never take the time to cultivate. It is easy to follow a predetermined script, to take the well-trodden path, to conform to the structures that society has laid out. But to step away from that, to say, I will not be defined by whether or not I fit into a role someone else has written for me, that is an act of defiance, of courage, and ultimately of self-mastery. And make no mistake, this path comes with its challenges. The world is not always kind to those who do not fit the mold. There will be those who assume she is unhappy, that she is unfulfilled, that she is incomplete. They will project their own fears onto her, assuming that because they would not know how to live without the validation of companionship, she must be suffering. But the truth is, a woman who walks alone is not necessarily lonely. She is not necessarily sad. In fact, she may have found a level of freedom, of self-actualization, of purpose, that many in traditional relationships never achieve. To walk alone is to be tested. There is no one to lean on, no external structure to hold her up. It is in this solitude that her true character is revealed. Does she crumble under the weight of responsibility, or does she rise to meet the challenge? Does she allow the doubts and judgments of others to dictate her path, or does she remain firm in the life she has chosen? A woman who walks alone is forced to become her own source of stability, her own foundation, her own guiding force. She cannot afford to be weak, to be passive, to wait for someone else to rescue her. She must be the architect of her own future, and that requires discipline. Because without discipline, freedom can become chaos. A woman who walks alone cannot afford to be careless with her time, with her energy, with her resources. She must build a life that is structured, that is meaningful, that is grounded in something greater than momentary pleasures. She must learn to say no to distractions, to those who do not respect her time, to relationships that drain rather than uplift her. Because the truth is, a woman who walks alone does not have the luxury of depending on someone else to fix her mistakes. She must be intentional with every decision, every choice, every commitment. It also requires resilience, because there will be days when the weight of it all feels too heavy. Days when the temptation to settle, to conform, to take the easier path is strong. Days when the judgments of others cut a little deeper than usual. But a strong woman understands that difficulty is not a reason to quit. It is a reason to push harder. She understands that the most worthwhile things in life are not given. They are earned. And if she has chosen to walk this path, she will see it through, not because it is easy, but because it is right for her. But perhaps the most powerful thing about a woman who walks alone is that she is unshakable in her sense of worth. She does not need to prove herself. She does not need to justify her choices. She knows who she is, and that is enough. And that, more than anything, is what makes her formidable. Because a woman who truly knows her worth cannot be controlled. She cannot be manipulated. She cannot be made to feel small by those who do not understand her. She stands tall, not because she has never been knocked down, but because she has learned how to rise again and again, no matter what. A woman who walks alone is not a woman who is waiting. She is not a woman who is lacking. She is not a woman who is lacking. She is a woman who has taken control of her own destiny. And that is a rare, remarkable, and powerful thing. A woman who walks alone is not a woman who has failed. She is a woman who has chosen a different path. And in a world that constantly tells women they need to be paired, to be chosen, to be validated by another, her very existence is an act of defiance. She stands as a reminder that fulfillment is not found in another person. It is found in purpose, in self-respect, in the quiet confidence of knowing who you are and refusing to apologize for it. But here's the challenge. Society is uncomfortable with women who do not fit the mold. The world operates on patterns, on predictability, on expectations. And a woman who walks alone disrupts those expectations. She is not where they expect her to be. She is not following the rules they have laid out. And so they label her difficult, cold, unfulfilled. But these are projections, not truths. Because the reality is, a woman who has chosen to walk alone is a woman who has made peace with herself in a way that few ever do. And let's be honest, this is not an easy road. It requires a level of self-sufficiency that most people never have to develop. There is no safety net, no built-in support system. If she stumbles, she must pick herself up. If she fails, she must be the one to push forward. But there is immense power in that, because once you realize that you are fully capable of standing on your own, no one can take that power away from you. It means she has had to master the art of self-discipline. She has had to learn how to manage her emotions, to set goals, to create a life that is structured and meaningful. Not because someone else is holding her accountable, but because she holds herself accountable. She understands that freedom without discipline leads to destruction. So she builds her days with purpose. She is intentional with her time, with her energy, with the people she allows into her life. And that brings us to another point. She is selective. A woman who walks alone does not let just anyone into her world. She has learned, often the hard way, that energy is not infinite. That people either bring value to your life or they drain it. That the company you keep will either elevate you or pull you down. So she does not entertain those who do not respect her, who do not challenge her, who do not contribute to her growth. She has no time for people who are comfortable with mediocrity, with stagnation, with complacency. And because of this, she is often misunderstood. People assume she is distant, that she is arrogant, that she thinks she is better than everyone else. But that is not the case. She simply values herself enough to set high standards. And those who cannot meet them will always try to make her feel guilty for having them. But a strong woman does not lower her standards. She simply refuses to engage with those who do not rise to meet them. This is where resilience comes in, because walking alone is not always glamorous. It is not always easy. There are moments of doubt, of loneliness, of questioning whether the path she has chosen is the right one. But here's the thing. Every meaningful journey comes with struggle. Growth does not happen in comfort. Strength is not built in ease. And she understands that just because something is difficult does not mean it is wrong. She knows that the reward for this journey is far greater than the cost. Because in the end, she has built something that many never will: complete self-reliance. She has learned that she is enough, that her value is not determined by her relationship status, by societal expectations, by the opinions of those who do not understand her. She walks alone not because she has to, but because she chooses to. And that choice, more than anything, is what makes her unstoppable. A woman who walks alone does so because she understands the power of independence. She has built herself up brick by brick through discipline, resilience, and self-awareness. But make no mistake, this path is not for the faint of heart. It demands a level of emotional strength that few are willing to cultivate. Society tells women that their value is tied to their ability to be chosen, to be desired, to be part of a unit. But she has rejected that narrative, not because she is incapable of love or connection, but because she refuses to settle for anything less than what aligns with her values and vision. She has learned that solitude is not loneliness. In fact, it is in solitude that she has found her greatest strength. When you strip away the noise, the expectations, the pressures, the distractions, you are left with only yourself. And for many, that is terrifying. Because when you are alone, there is no one to blame for your shortcomings, no one to distract you from your own weaknesses. You are forced to confront yourself in the rawest form. And that is exactly what she has done. She has faced her insecurities, her fears, her doubts, and she has not run from them. She has studied them, understood them, and used them as tools for growth. This kind of woman does not wait for permission. She does not seek validation. She does not mold herself into something more palatable just to be accepted. She understands that true fulfillment does not come from the approval of others, but from the alignment between who she is and what she stands for. That's why she invests in herself. She sharpens her mind, strengthens her body, and nurtures her spirit. She reads, she learns, she challenges herself. She does not waste time with gossip, with drama, with relationships that drain her. Her energy is too valuable for that. And because of this, she is often viewed as intimidating. Not because she is unkind, not because she is unapproachable, but because she is whole. And wholeness in a world that thrives on insecurity is rare. Many people are uncomfortable around someone who does not need external validation to feel complete. They do not know how to handle a woman who is confident in her solitude, who does not shrink herself to fit into conventional roles. And so they try to break her down. They tell her she is missing out, that she will regret choosing this path, that she will one day wake up and wish she had taken an easier route. But she knows better. She knows that the people who say these things are speaking from their own fears, from their own discomfort, because deep down they recognize that she possesses something they do not: complete control over her own life. And that kind of control, that kind of freedom, is something that many will never experience. A woman who walks alone also understands the importance of standards. She does not allow just anyone into her life. That she is not swayed by charm, by fleeting attraction, by shallow promises. She has spent too much time building herself to let someone come in and dismantle it all. She knows that real relationships, whether friendships, partnerships, or mentorships, are built on mutual respect, shared values, and a commitment to growth. And if someone does not meet those standards, she has no problem walking away. Because she would rather stand alone in truth than be surrounded by people who do not honor her worth. This does not mean she is cold. It does not mean she is incapable of love. In fact, it means the opposite. Because when she does choose to open her heart, she does so fully, with intention, with clarity, with depth. She loves not out of need, but out of choice. And that makes her love stronger than most. Because it is not born from fear of being alone, it is born from a place of abundance. She is not defined by societal expectations. She does not measure her worth by her relationship status. She does not let the world dictate how she should live, how she should exist. She walks alone because she understands that her path is her own. And that is where her true power lies. A woman who walks alone does so because she has mastered self-reliance. She has built her foundation on discipline, intelligence, and emotional control. While others seek constant companionship to distract themselves from their inner struggles, she has confronted those struggles head-on. She has spent countless hours reflecting, refining, and growing into the person she is today. And that level of personal development makes her rare. It makes her different. And that difference often makes others uncomfortable. Many people believe that walking alone is a sign of weakness, of isolation, of an inability to find connection. But that is a lie. The truth is, only the strongest can truly stand alone. Only those who have developed themselves to the highest degree can bear the weight of solitude without breaking under it. She does not fear being alone because she has built a life that is full, regardless of who is or isn't in it. She has a purpose, a mission, a set of values that guide her forward. She wakes up with direction. She moves through the world with intention. She understands something that most people don't. External validation is fleeting. One day, the world will praise you. The next, it will tear you down. If your sense of self-worth is tied to the opinions of others, you will forever be a puppet, dancing for approval that can be taken away at any moment. She refuses to live like that. Her value is not determined by how many people like her, how many invitations she receives, or how many people find her attractive. Her value comes from her principles, her knowledge, her actions. And because of this, she does not need constant reassurance. She does not need a crowd to feel important. This is why she intimidates people. When someone is truly self-sufficient, it disrupts the narrative society pushes. We are told that a woman should be searching for someone to complete her. That her happiness should depend on her relationships, her status, her ability to conform. But she rejects all of that. She does not walk this path because she has to. She walks it because she chooses to. And that choice threatens those who have built their lives around dependency. People will try to convince her she is wrong. They will say she is too independent, that she is missing out on something essential, that no one will want to be with her if she continues down this road. But she does not let their words shake her because she knows the truth. The people who criticize her are often the ones who fear her. They fear the freedom she has. They fear the fact that she does not need them. They fear that her example exposes the weaknesses in their own lives. She is not immune to struggle. She has faced hardship, heartbreak, and disappointment. But she does not let those experiences define her. She does not wallow in self-pity or let adversity break her spirit. Instead, she uses every challenge as fuel for growth. She understands that life is not about avoiding pain, but about becoming strong enough to endure it without losing herself in the process. A woman who walks alone is often misunderstood. People assume she must be lonely. They assume she must secretly wish for someone to save her. But they do not understand that she has already saved herself. She has built a life that is rich with meaning, knowledge, and purpose. She does not need someone to complete her. She is already whole. And that is the ultimate freedom. She does not have to settle. She does not have to compromise her standards just to fit in. She does not have to pretend to be someone. She is not to make others comfortable. She is who she is, fully, unapologetically, and with absolute certainty. That is the power of a woman who walks alone. She is not searching for approval, validation, or permission. She is simply living, growing, and becoming the strongest version of herself. And in doing so, she becomes an unstoppable force. A woman who walks alone does not do so out of weakness, but out of strength. Society often assumes that solitude is a curse, a sign of failure, a marker of someone who has been left behind. But that is only because most people are terrified of being alone. They fear the silence, the lack of distraction, the confrontation with their own thoughts. They run from it. They do everything they can to avoid it. But she embraces it, she welcomes it, because she knows that solitude is not emptiness. It is clarity. It is power. She has discovered what so many people never will. That true strength is built in moments of isolation. It is clarity. That when the noise of the world fades away, when the expectations, the pressures, the need to conform all disappear, that is when you find yourself. That is when you learn what you are truly made of. And she has done that work. She has looked inward and faced the uncomfortable truths that others try to bury. She has taken accountability for her own life. She does not wait for someone to come and fix things for her. She fixes them herself. This is why she is different, why she is rare. Why she is rare? Because in a world where so many people are desperate to be liked, desperate to fit in, desperate to belong, she does not beg for acceptance. She does not chase after approval. She has freed herself from the need to be validated by others, and that freedom makes her untouchable. It makes her intimidating, because when a person does not need to be liked, they cannot be controlled. That is what society struggles to understand about her. They assume that because she walks alone, she must be bitter. She must be broken. She must be incomplete. But the truth is, she is none of those things. She is not alone because she cannot connect. She is alone because she refuses to lower her standards for shallow relationships. She does not settle for companionship at the cost of her peace. She does not tolerate meaningless interactions just to avoid solitude. She would rather walk alone with dignity than stand beside people who do not match her strength. And that is what makes her a threat. She is a reminder that dependency is not a necessity. That a woman can be whole without a constant stream of attention, affection, or approval. She challenges the belief that a woman must always be in search of a partner, that her happiness is incomplete without romantic validation. She rewrites the narrative. She defines herself on her own terms. But that does not mean she is cold. It does not mean she is incapable of love, of friendship, of connection. Quite the opposite. When she does let someone in, it is intentional. It is meaningful. Because she has spent time with herself, because she has cultivated her own identity, she knows exactly what she wants and exactly what she will not tolerate. She does not build relationships out of desperation. She builds them out of purpose. She is selective, not because she is arrogant, but because she knows her worth. She understands that the people she allows into her life will shape her energy, her mindset, her future. She does not surround herself with negativity, with dishonesty, with mediocrity. And so she surrounds herself with individuals who inspire, who challenge, who uplift. And if she does not find them, she keeps walking alone, because she would rather walk her own path in solitude than be dragged down by the wrong company. This is what makes her unstoppable. She does not move out of fear. She does not hesitate because of insecurity. She moves with confidence. She moves with purpose. Every step she takes is one she has chosen for herself. She is not waiting for permission. She is not asking for validation. She is not hoping the world will understand her. She is simply being who she is, fully and unapologetically. And that is why she cannot be broken. Because no one can take away what she has built within herself. No one can shake a foundation that is rooted in self-awareness, discipline, and strength. She is not searching for someone to complete her. She is already whole. She is not afraid of the road ahead. She has walked it alone before, and she will walk it alone again if she must. That is the power of a woman who walks alone. She is not lost. She is not lost. She is not incomplete. She is a force moving through the world with clarity, resilience, and unshakable strength. A woman who walks alone understands something that most people never do. Solitude is not loneliness. It is not a punishment. It is not a punishment. It is not an indication of failure. It is a choice, a statement, a declaration of self-reliance. In a world that constantly pushes people to seek external validation, to conform to expectations, To fit into a mold that was never made for them, she chooses something different. She chooses herself, and that choice is radical. It defies the narratives that society has written for her. From the time she was a child, she was told that success means finding someone to stand beside, that her worth is measured by her relationships, that happiness comes from being wanted. But she has unlearned those lies. She has seen the truth, She knows that the person who will be with her for a lifetime, the person who will never abandon her, is herself. That is why she invests in herself. While others chase approval, she chases growth. While others rely on others for happiness, she creates her own. She takes the time to understand herself, to cultivate her mind, to sharpen her spirit. She reads. She learns. She pushes herself beyond what she thought was possible. She does not wait for someone to tell her what she is capable of. She proves it to herself. But this strength comes at a cost. It intimidates people. It makes them uncomfortable. They cannot place her in a category. They do not know how to define her, how to control her, how to make her fit within the boundaries they understand. Some admire her. Some envy her. Some even resent her because she forces them to question their own choices, to wonder if they too have settled for less than they deserve. That is the burden of walking alone. It means being misunderstood. It means facing doubt, criticism, and even rejection. It means hearing the whispers, seeing the judgment in people's eyes. Why is she alone? They wonder. What's wrong with her? They assume. But what they do not realize is that she is not alone because she has failed to find someone. She is alone because she refuses to accept anything less than what she deserves. And that standard is rare. Most people settle. They settle for relationships that drain them, for friendships that do not uplift them, for environments that stifle their growth, but she refuses. She would rather be alone than compromise her values. She would rather walk her own path than follow one that does not lead to where she wants to be. That is not to say she does not experience doubt. She does. She does. There are nights when the silence feels heavy, when the loneliness creeps in, when she wonders if it would be easier to just give in, to settle, to conform. But then she remembers who she is. She remembers the journey she has chosen, and she reminds herself that strength is not found in easy choices. Strength is built in the moments when she keeps moving forward, even when no one is beside her. This is why she is powerful, because she has taught herself to be her own source of comfort, her own protector, her own guide. She does not need someone to hold her hand through life. She has built the resilience to hold herself up. She does not wait for someone to open doors for her. She walks through them herself. And if they are locked, she finds another way in. She is not heartless. She is not incapable of love, but she loves with intention. She does not give her energy to those who do not value it. She does not waste time on those who do not deserve it. If someone cannot match her strength, her vision, her depth, she lets them go. She does not beg for connection. She does not chase after people who do not see her worth. That is the essence of a woman who walks alone. She does not walk this path because she has to. She walks it because she chooses to, because she knows that her journey is hers alone, because she understands that real fulfillment does not come from finding someone. It comes from becoming someone, and she is becoming unstoppable. She wakes up every morning with a sense of purpose, not because someone is expecting her, not because she has obligations to fulfill for someone else, but because she is dedicated to her own growth. And she moves through the world with an awareness that many lack, an awareness that everything she builds, everything she creates, comes from her own hands, her own mind, her own resilience. That kind of independence does not come easily. It is forged in the fire of hardship. It is shaped by disappointment, by heartbreak, by loss. A woman who walks alone has faced rejection. She has been overlooked, underestimated, and doubted. People have told her she is too much, too strong, too independent. They have tried to make her believe that she needs to shrink herself, to soften her edges, to make herself more palatable, but she refuses. She has learned that being alone is not a weakness. It is a strength. It is a strength. It takes courage to stand on your own, to be your own foundation, to trust yourself when no one else does. She has embraced solitude not as a punishment, but as a privilege, because in that solitude she has discovered herself. She has confronted her fears, her insecurities, her wounds, and instead of running from them, she has faced them head on. That is why she is not easily swayed. She does not fall for empty words. She does not entertain meaningless relationships. She does not need someone to complete her because she is already whole. She does not seek validation from the world because she has validated herself, and that is what makes her different. That is what makes her powerful. But power does not mean she is emotionless. She feels everything deeply. She loves fiercely. She gives with an open heart, but she is selective. She does not waste her energy on those who drain her. She does not give her love to those who do not appreciate it. She knows her worth, and because of that, she does not settle. And that is what unsettles people. They do not understand a woman who does not need them. They do not know what to do with someone who is content on her own. They are used to people craving attention, seeking approval, looking for acceptance, but she does not. She walks into a room, not to be noticed, but because she has something to offer. She speaks not to be heard, but because she has something to say. She exists not for the approval of others, but for the fulfillment of her own purpose. That kind of self-possession is rare. It makes people uncomfortable. It forces them to examine their own lives, to question their own choices. They wonder if they too have been conditioned to believe that happiness comes from external sources. They wonder if they have spent too much time seeking validation instead of building themselves. She does not look down on them. She does not pity them. She does not pity them. But she also does not change herself to fit into their expectations. She knows that her journey is her own. She knows that the right people will understand her. The right people will respect her. The right people will walk beside her, not because she needs them to, but because she chooses to allow them into her world. That is the difference. She is not waiting for someone to save her. She is not hoping for someone to complete her. She is not afraid of walking alone because she has already found everything she needs within herself. And because of that, she will never settle. Not for a life that does not fulfill her. Not for a relationship that does not inspire her. Not for a path that does not challenge her. She will keep moving forward. Not because she is running from anything, but because she is running toward the woman she is meant to become. And that woman is unstoppable.